So, Stephen, I remember, I guess we've been talking about this podcast now for
a long time.
A long time. And, I think thanks to a video we did for our holiday party, and we teamed up with Rashid with Right Time Solutions and decided it's time for us to go ahead and act on something, right? And stop talking about it. So.
Exactly. No more excuses. We have an opportunity to work with someone really talented that had the ability to bring together our vision and had the fortitude to make it happen. And so that's a good thing about partnering with people, right?
That's right.
You know your limitations, trying to find someone offset your weaknesses with their strengths. That's what life is all about. That's what the balancing act is.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So this new podcast, the title of it is Beyond Boundaries, Navigating Life with the Carter Brothers.
Absolutely.
And we're the Carter Brothers. If you guys don't know, we're actually twins from the Houston, Texas area. I'm Sterling Carter.
Dr. Sterling.
Dr. Sterling Carter.
Yeah.
And my better half over here is
Stephen Levi Carter.
Yeah.
I have to put Levi in there because Stephen Carter is such a
there's a lot of Stephen Carters out there.
So I start referring my middle name in there.
Yeah. But we have been we've been around the world a few times.
Absolutely.
We've had some successes and some failures, and we like to say that we've had a few more successes than failures.
Absolutely.
Or maybe we've had more failures than successes, right? But the successes that we do have been some good ones.
I'm very glad that you clarified. We have had many more failures than successes, and that's what life is all about. Is figuring out how to get back up, keep moving forward. We're talking about breaking boundaries, but breaking boundaries means having the work ethic, and again the fortitude to perseverance to push forward. And to believe in yourself and have the confidence to say, I'm going to keep on moving no matter what.
That's it. So the purpose of this podcast, like Stephen was saying, it's really about not just professional lives, but personal lives. How do you succeed in life, and how do you navigate this crazy world, and how do we set ourselves up for success?
Absolutely. And we definitely don't know it all.
Right.
Which is why we've been blessed to be able to invite some really amazing talented
guests,
sit at the table with us. And it's an opportunity for not only you guys to learn, we definitely learn from the conversations as well. And the whole hope is that we all gain something and we all get better.
That's right. So in this podcast, we thought we would interview each other.
Yes.
And so you guys can get to know a little bit about us and who we are. So, Stephen, I get to ask you the first question.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
So tell me about your background and how did you end up in the place where you are today?
Gotcha. Well, it started off at a very, very, very young age. I was coming out the womb, I had to come out early because
because I was pushing him out.
He's always late to the party. 6 minutes, I popped out. And in that 6 minutes, some amazing, things happened. I mean, I was just, God is like a beam below. And I had this level of maturity and understanding that Sterling just still hasn't been able to catch up with. It's been a while. It's been a while. But no, we both come from humble beginnings, and we definitely are appreciative of those humble beginnings because it gave us kind of the desire, passion that we have now. We're both, we come from Mississippi, Southern roots. We were born in Houston, but both of our parents are from Mississippi.
That's right.
The children of sharecroppers believe in hard work. I mean, a lot of physical labor that they went through, and we saw that and learned that summers when we spent time in Mississippi, and so. We have a very strong mother who has that kind of work ethic, and we're surrounded by all of the, I think, men in our family were military, pastors, truck drivers, right? All of these kind of like elements of just kind of hard work,
Yeah. And they made it despite, right?
Absolutely.
It's so funny. This past weekend, I was out of the country, and one of the guys that I was hanging out with is from Alabama, I believe.
Yeah.
He was like, I used to always say, thank God for Mississippi, because at least we're not number one on the bottom of the list in states as far as education, jobs. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But unfortunately, Mississippi does not have a lot of growth or education. Unfortunately, it's not the best. So we were fortunate to have a family of really, really hard workers that made it and succeeded despite all of that. So that was great.
So Sterling, what would you say has been kind of one of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome? Based upon that background and like you said, we came from, again, very humble beginnings, moving to Houston. Our parents moved to Houston for better opportunities and things of that nature. But what's the big challenge that you had to go through?
So you know what? I think one of the biggest challenges that people need to learn in life is that you can never give up. Regardless of how many times that you fall down, you have to get back up. And we've definitely been through a lot of trials and tribulations. Stephen, I believe not too long ago, you made a eloquent, I guess, message on Facebook talking about our background. And for those that don't know, our father passed away at an early age. He died of cirrhosis of the liver, alcoholism, lung cancer, that kind of thing. We grew up after that, single parent household until our mom remarried. And even that situation was a little bit of a challenge as well, to say the least. We won't get into those details. But twins going to college at the same time, trying to get into these elite schools and that kind of thing. It was trying. It was trials and tribulations. We had to join the military in order to pay for college and get a lot of scholarships and all that kind of good stuff. So every time you think that you're defeated and you think you can't get past something, you just have to just pick yourself up and just say, hey, what can I do in order to get past this moment, get past this obstacle, get beyond the boundaries, right, Steve?
Beyond the boundaries. Yeah. It's so interesting when we share our story, and when you're going through, when you're living life, you're just going through and you don't really think about it like, oh, my situation is so, difficult or challenging. You just kind of, that's all you know, and that's what you know, and you just kind of deal with it. But the point of that is to say that we've all been through challenging times, and there are others that have much more challenges, many more challenges they've gone through, and they've all persevered. We tend to look at successful people and assume they had a silver spoon in their mouths. They had it easy. They've just always had it together. And most often that's just not the case. It just seems that way. It seems like they were overnight success, but there are no overnight successes, right?
No, there's not. And success comes with, like we talked about earlier, a lot of failures, because you get a little bit more wise with experience, and so you become better and better over time. Yeah. LeBron James didn't come out the womb being one of the best basketball players ever to do it. And even now that he's at an elite level, he still practices every single day because we have to continue to work on our craft. Yeah. But speaking of that, Steven, tell us a little bit more. I mean, you started at the womb and all that kind of good stuff, but you got a great success story. Tell the people about your education. What are you doing now? I honestly can say you're probably one of the best leaders that I've ever met. How you became a great leader and motivator of people. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So no, I mean life has different experiences, and we learn from all of those. But we were speaking with someone earlier. We're big proponents of HBCUs, and we went to Langston University, one of the best schools, the Langston University in Oklahoma. And that was throw the L's up. So we love our alma mater, and that was the basis of foundation really of what we've been able to achieve. But we also joined the military going from high school going into college because we were being raised by a single mother and needed that financial support. So we're also veterans. We've learned a lot of hard work ethic through the military, through the Army, and we feel like it's a big part of what has developed our skill set and our focus and things of that nature. We were activated in college and went off to go fight a war. So that's right. While our classmates who were in classes and finishing up, physics or chemistry or whatever the case may be, we were in the sand of the desert.
Sandbox.
Sandbox, right? and fighting for our country. So it was a level of maturity that we obtained then. But my graduate degree is in accounting from Langston University. I then came back to Houston, where we're from, attended University of Houston for my MBA in finance and change management, and started off at corporate and started off in healthcare initially, then went into oil and gas, just kind of chasing the dollar, if you will. I've done a lot in financial executive positions and done a lot of technology, ERP implementation, software implementations, project management. I ended up getting my PMP, project management professional certification. And all of those things were kind of leading me and building me to kind of being my own entrepreneur, owner of a company. And that's one thing I'll say is that every opportunity, anything that you're going through is an opportunity to learn something that you can apply later on in life. And so a lot of lessons that were learned through that process of living that are beneficial to what we're doing now.
Great story. I thought you were going to talk about how PMP doesn't stand for pimp or something. There's some little, you always had a little joke about that.
People used to see those three letters PMP behind my name. And I did have a bit of a reputation back in the day. It wouldn't be far-fetched to think it meant pimp. But I've evolved. I'm not the guy I used to be.
Right. Exactly. Married now for how many years?
For 20, don't tell my wife that I don't know for sure, but it's 22.
Daphne, I hope your wife's right now.
22 years.
22 years.
22 amazing years. A wonderful woman who's blessed me with beautiful children.
That's right.
And definitely accepts me for all my faults.
Right.
About my faults.
And so you left the PMP game.
I left the PMP game alone. It was like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it,
Well, my background, similar to what Stephen was saying, we both graduated from Langston University. I love Langston so much, I had to go back and get a second degree. So I have a degree in biology, and I went back for a bachelor's degree in physical therapy. And then went off and took my licensure exam and started working as a physical therapist and making a difference in people's lives and helping people rehab from injuries and that kind of thing. I went on to Texas Women's University, the campus in Houston, and got my post-professional master's in orthopedics and sports medicine, just trying to work on my craft and getting it really tight. And then shortly thereafter, I went to Simmons University in Boston and completed my clinical doctorate in physical therapy. And so it's been a fun ride from all that education, all that kind of good stuff. But as Stephen said, my favorite alma mater of all, we love Langston University so much so that our colors of our logo is blue and orange, which is the colors of Langston University. So we bleed blue and orange, right? So, but Stephen and I, after we finished that, and Stephen was working in corporate America, I decided to open up a private practice in physical therapy, and it was going pretty well. And then I talked to Stephen about another business opportunity, and we learned the power of partnerships and how it, and I think as we, for a long time, we were trying to do our own thing. I think probably a little bit on purpose, because being twins, you never really have your own identity, right? So as you get a little bit older, you try to create that identity, so people aren't just calling you twin all the time.
Right.
They actually know there's a Stephen or Stephen and the Sterling. But yeah, we came together and we've opened up a lot of different businesses. We wrote a best-selling book. We started up a business consulting firm, a lot of other fun stuff. And we've managed and consulted thousands of businesses and business owners. So it's been a fun ride.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, so what you neglected to say, and which I'm very proud of you for being able to do, is that Sterling is a retired military officer. So we both started in the military together. We were enlisted, and then we both left the military for a little bit. Then Sterling re-enlisted, but he was smart enough to come back as a military officer, and the leadership that he's learned from an officer standpoint, and the amount of people, the people that he led, is just so impressive. You want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so 25 years
in
the Army, primarily Army Reserve time frame, but I was part of 3 different operations throughout that time. Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, and Iraqi Freedom. Got a chance to just travel all over the country and all that kind of good stuff. But more importantly than all of that, you really learn, I think anyone that's in the military long enough, you learn how to become a great leader. And of course, you start off as a great follower. So I think leaders really have to understand how to follow first and really have to be empathetic with their team. And so one of the great things about the military is and Steve and I talk about this in our book, is that we practice servant leadership. And servant leadership means that our most important role as a leader is to make sure we take care of our soldiers and take care of our team. So much so that when we go to eat, and we're going to the mess hall or whatever, which is what we call it, the officers or the leaders are the last ones to eat. And the premise is that even if we have to starve, we're taking care of our people first. And I think great leaders usually encompass that type of leadership style. That's what motivates your team, that if they know you care about that you care about them, then they're going to do everything to take care of you.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. We talk a lot about partnerships and, collaborations as being the key to being successful. No one ever does this in life alone. And so Sterling and I were smart enough to partner up, as Sterling mentioned, when he had the idea about starting a staffing agency. It's been 12, 13 years.
Yeah, it was 2011, 2010, probably when we had the discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sterling came to me, not because he had to, he could have done it on his own. He actually had done a little bit of staffing on his own prior to that. But he realized his strengths, his weaknesses, his limitations on time really at the time, because he was running his own outpatient physical therapy clinic, and realized the benefits of what could be achieved by us partnering together. And so throughout our success, and we've gone through a lot of ups and downs in terms of business and life and things of that nature, we just always have kept in the forefront that we understand and respect the value that each one of us bring to the table. We trust each other, and we know that at the end of the day, we're both working towards the same, a similar goal. And so it just has worked.
It has.
Yeah.
It's worked. I think, to Stephen's point, and we'll probably have an entire podcast talking about the power of relationships and partnerships. But in healthcare, one of the issues that we have in healthcare is that healthcare providers in general are great with taking care of patients, but they are horrible with business, just in general. There are some great people out there, but Stephen is the masterful at business. He has his MBA. He's ran all these different companies and all that kind of good stuff. So putting the two of us together was like the yin and the yang. So we have the business prowess, we have the healthcare prowess, and we're working in healthcare business. It just makes sense. And so we were able just to take that and just run with it. So it's super, super awesome. Yeah. But Stephen, tell me about, from all these different things that we've done, tell me about lessons learned.
Wow. We've learned a lot of lessons along the way. It's kind of tough to be able to identify the top ones. But, I just think at the end of the day, work ethic, working hard, but working smart, not just hard, but working smart is the key. I'm one that never wants to give up, but sometimes you do have to know when to, when to say, hey, we've gone down this road, we've ran this race long enough. It's time to retool, to change direction and try something different. So I think it's work ethic. I think it's working smart, and I think it's knowing when to throw in the towel and knowing when to shift. Those would be the 3 things. What about you? What do you think?
So lessons learned, I would probably say work ethic is really big. Well, number one, I'll say, whatever you see on Facebook, don't necessarily believe, right? Yeah. Because Facebook is giving you the best of what everyone's
social
doing.
Media, Instagram.
Or social media, right? Meta and all that kind of good stuff. Not that there's something wrong with that, because people want to present themselves in a great light, but there's always going to be ups and downs. And so it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not necessarily about how smart you are. It's really about well, you have to be smart as well, but you have to work hard and you have to be able to grind and go beyond the boundaries. So I'll say that's number one. Number two, I think knowing that you can't do it on your own. We talked about that earlier. I think in the times when we've grown and we continue to grow is when we realize that if we partner with the right people, the right individuals, something magical happens. And so I think that strategic relationships and partnerships are really important. And then probably, having a great support system, because being a business owner, being an entrepreneur is really, really tough. And so it can be stressful. It's long hours. It takes a toll on your body, on your health, on your family. So having support systems like our beautiful wives that have always been there through ups and downs, I think it's really important too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sterling, what do you do to kind of to kind of relax or take a load off? Like what do you do in your downtime to de-stress?
So one of my favorite pastimes right now is golf.
That's right.
So when I get and it's so funny because I remember there's a point in time when I could never imagine taking 4 hours out of the day or 2 hours out of the day to play a game. I'm like, as entrepreneurs, how do we have time for that? But what I realized is that as entrepreneurs and as people that are just successful in period, because this is not just about being a business owner, is that we can be so focused and work so much that we really there's not a balance. And so we don't have an outlet. And so you don't give your mind a chance to reset. And so golf allows me to reset. So I'm out there on the golf course. You can't have your phone on. You're not in front of the TV. I get all these phone calls. And it's a beautiful, venue or environment. And you can just get lost in it. And so I think that's nice. And especially if you have a great group of friends with you too, it's a great way to bond for 4 hours with a great group of people. So that would probably be that. And then my other vice is wine. And a lot of people know I'm a big wine lover. I used to back in the day be the president of a wine tasting society here in Houston. And at one point, I thought about opening up my own wine bar and that kind of thing. But so I would say that.
You gotta have balance. I appreciate Sterling does really well about making sure that he has a good balance. Like you got to take that time off. And like we were talking earlier, I think, about making sure that you take care of yourself, because you can't tell you take care of yourself unless you take care of, you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself first.
That's right.
And part of that taking care of yourself is taking the time to decompress and making sure you're going to those doctor's appointments. You're spending time to make sure you are going to the gym, physically taking care of yourself and things of that nature. So all of that is just really important. All of that helps you to break boundaries and take your life to the next level.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny, Stephen. I was on LinkedIn just a couple of days ago, and the message came across, congratulations, you've been at Sterling Physical Therapy and Wellness for 17 years.
Wow.
So imagine for those who've been out there or maybe thinking about it, you've been working 60 to 80 hours a week for 17 years. And at some point, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And I have to give a shout out to Jennifer Jones with Jennifer Nutrition, because she helped me consult through this. I think it was just like last year. And I even saw her schedule and how she did it. And she was like, you know what? You need to structure your week where you get most of your work done between Monday and Thursday, and use Friday as just kind of open, flexible day. And so I started started doing that, and it's been a game changer. I can go play golf now on Fridays. I can just relax or just work from home. So we really have to be a little bit more intentional with the work-life balance, because if not, you'll just work all the time.
No, 100%.
So
100%. Any final thoughts you have or you want to share with our audience?
So I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
One, because we're avid. Stephen and I are big about personal development, self-development, all that kind of good stuff. So, and sometimes it's podcasts, sometimes it's books. what's your favorite podcast that you're listening to right now, and what's your favorite book?
Wow. So favorite podcast. To be honest, I haven't been looking at a lot of podcasts lately. I do a lot of Audible books. I listen to a lot of talk radio, to be honest. But I don't have necessarily a top podcast. Besides, I always talk about motivational podcasts, Motiversity. I listen to that on a regular basis. But that's just kind of my go-to. But in terms of favorite book, we talk about 10X is better than 2X. I've been reading that and studying that a lot lately. That's one of my favorite books. Just basically I'll go randomly through Audible and find something new and listen to it. I'm a big proponent of taking advantage of time when I'm on the road. We talk about kind of that work-life balance, or making sure we have time to share with family and things of that nature. So when I do get home from work and things of that nature, I'm trying to spend time with family. So my time to get in reading a book or meditating, if you will, is a lot of time in my vehicle, back and forth.
Yeah, that's a great way to
take advantage of it.
Yeah.
What about you?
So for me, I've got two podcasts that I'm kind of loving right now. It's crazy. One is Joe Rogan's podcast, and so for those out there, I know Joe Rogan is can be confrontational. He's a pretty staunch conservative, but if you listen to his podcast. And he's done better. He doesn't really get into the political side very much at all, but he's extremely intelligent, and he brings on some guests on his podcast. And just listening to a 2-hour, sometimes 3-hour podcast and dialogue is really interesting. So that's one. Number two is the Huberman Lab, and Huberman Lab is Dr. Huberman. I can't think of his first name, but he is a bioscientist. And I want to say he's a professor either at Harvard University or another Ivy League university. But what he does is he talks about everything that's going on in life, but from a science perspective. And I guess since I'm in healthcare, it's pretty cool. So those are my two podcasts I'm loving right now. As far as books, or my favorite book right now is probably Limitless.
Okay.
It's a really, really good book for our audience out there. If you're wanting to learn how to learn more, memorize more easily, where you can remember everyone's name that you meet, you can remember phone numbers, all that kind of good stuff. It's pretty cool. How you can read faster and consume more books. He really is teaching. What he's saying is he's teaching you how to become smarter, and it's just with little tips and tools of the trade. So it's a pretty good book.
I'm gonna have to pick that one up.
Definitely,
sounds pretty
it's
nice.
pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Well, good deal. So, man, this is it. So this is our first kind of podcast talking about what we're doing, and we have some exciting guests that we're going to have on, and we're just going to have fun making a difference in people's lives, hopefully motivating and inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
So please share this podcast with others. Hopefully you chime in is it going to do it every week?
We'll have to
figure that out. But just chime in, follow us, and be sure to share with a friend. Remember, with each step beyond boundaries, you redefine what's possible.
Navigate your life with passion, purpose, and determination.